What's up, brand builder? Stephen Hurahan here at BrandMasterAcademy.com, and in this video you're going to learn 10 copywriting hacks that you can use to grow your brand so you can give your audience the exact message that they need from you to not just influence how they see your brand, but also their decision making. Now, if you're new to the channel and you want to build brands that go beyond the visuals using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking, then you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you want to fast track your results, make sure you grab the Pro Brand Strategy Blueprint. The link is in the description. Now, when we tend to think of branding, we jump towards the visuals, and that's the association that's ingrained within the industry there, that branding is a logo. And even those who understand that branding is a lot more than a logo, we tend to associate the word branding with those visuals. But when we break down what branding is, it's actually the attempt to influence our audience as to how they're going to see our brand and our business. That's what we're trying to do by branding our business. We're trying to influence the minds of our audience as to how they see our brand. Now, you might have the most visually appealing brand in the world, and if you do, that's great. In fact, it's a non-negotiable today. You have to have a visually appealing brand. But even if you do have that, even if you do have those visuals ticked, if you don't have the copy, if you don't have the messaging to back up those visuals, then it's all for nothing. The reality of it is that the copy and the messaging that we receive, that we hear, that we see in videos, that we read on websites, this holds the most influence for us because it taps in to our emotions. Yes, we can see the visuals through a logo. Yes, we can see the visuals through imagery, and that's really important. But if you really want to connect with who your audience is, if you really want to tap in to how they're feeling and resonate with them, then copy is one of the most important and one of the most influential elements in building a brand. Now, copywriting for me personally anyway was one of those tasks that I just assumed. It was because my audience, my clients, they expected me to provide them with the visual brand and the website, and within the website you have copy. And as I said, that was just a role that I assumed, but really it wasn't until I started to study marketing and to study copywriting did I realize the importance of that actual task. Did I realize the importance of the discipline of copywriting? And the more I studied, the more I read, the more I realized how influential it was when it came to building a brand, when it came to influencing the minds of the audience. And to go one further, the more I read about science and neuroscience and how the brain actually works, the more I then realized just how important it was. So now that we've gotten the importance of copywriting out of the way, I want to give you 10 hacks that you can use within your own copywriting and your own brand building to influence exactly how your audience sees your brand. Number one, tune your language. So your audience is out there in the marketplace and they're looking for something, and they're in a certain state of mind when they're looking for that. Now, if they're looking for a jumping castle for their child's birthday, then they're going to be in one state of mind. If they're looking for a lawyer for some kind of criminal offense, they're going to be in a different state of mind. You need to understand what state of mind your audience is in when they're looking for your kind of service. And then you need to really tap into how they're feeling within that state and use that within your language. So really understand the role that you want to play as a brand in the lives of your audience and use that to influence the language that you use in your messaging. Number two, inject characteristics into your tone. Now, if you've followed my stuff before, then you'll have probably heard me talking about characteristics and the importance of characteristics when it comes to painting an image in the mind of your audience. You want to use those characteristics to align yourself with a certain type of image. So it's really important here that first you understand the role that your brand is going to play, which we briefly covered in the first step. And once you understand that role, align the role to the characteristics that will attract your audience, that your audience will be attracted to. So once you have those characteristics, then you can use them within the tone of your brand so that when your language goes out, when your messaging goes out, when your copy goes out, you have those characteristics through the tone that you're using. Number three, treat your headlines as hooks. Now, one of the roles of our reptilian brain is energy conservation. So That is your 500 million year old brain scanning everything all the time. And really what it's trying to do, it's trying to minimize the work that your brain has to do in order to conserve energy. So if an attack comes along, you have the energy to get away. So that's pretty much how it works. And it's scanning different information all the time, and it's dismissing most of the information it comes across. When you think about all of the marketing messages that we receive, all of those ads in our feed, we dismiss 99% of those because the reptilian brain is helping us to conserve that energy. So you need to think of your headlines as hooks and give your reptilian brain an easy way to scan those headlines and to appeal to that emotional brain as you do that. So think about what the reptilian brain is after, what it's looking for, and use those headlines to really hook them in. Number 4, be ruthlessly efficient. Now, before I studied copywriting and before I learned about the best techniques for copywriting, I was absolutely awful. I remember reflecting on my copy previously and thinking how bad it was. And essentially what I would do, I would take 20 or 30 words to write something that I could write within 10. And again, thinking about that reptilian brain and thinking how we work as people, we're really scanning for what we want, and we want it in as little energy consumption as possible. So be ruthlessly efficient with your copywriting and don't use more words than you need to. Number 5, format for micro commitments. Now, when you learn about writing in school, it's all about correctness. So it's all about writing paragraphs the way paragraphs should be written. But today, things are changing. The way we read, it's changing, and we have to be open to the idea that the way people consume information is changing as well. If you think about reading information on a website, if you come across a big block of copy, what that big block of copy is going to represent to you is a commitment. You have to commit to reading that big block of copy to get the information that you're looking for. If, on the other hand, you see just a single sentence, then that's less of a commitment. So you don't really think about how much information you're going to have to read. You just jump into reading that information. So think about your audience, think about how you digest information as well, and format your information to make it easy for your audience, to make it so that it's a simple micro commitment of a single sentence rather than a big block of copy. So ditch those big blocks of copy, think about how you read, think about those little micro commitments, and spread out the information so it's easy to read. Number 6, use visual support. Now, this may or may not be possible depending on the environment that you're in. If you have a message on your website, then you have control over that environment. And if you have control of the environment, you should use visual support wherever possible. And the reason for that is that if we read a message and we're able to align that to a visually appealing image, and those two align, the visuals align with the message, then we're able to store that in part of the brain that's much easier to remember. It's much easier for recall, and that will help to build the image of your brand in your audience's mind. So wherever possible, use visual support to solidify your message. Number 7, check your grammar. Now, I'll be the first to admit that this is not my strong suit. I really love writing, and I really love the creativity of writing, and I kind of get lost in it. My wife calls me the octopus because I disappear into my own world and I'm hammering away on my keyboard. But I do go back and I do check my grammar, but it's really important that you get into that habit. It's really important that you go back through and you check your grammar, because you can have a beautifully crafted message and a misspelled word can completely derail that message and derail how that comes across in the mind of your audience. So really get into the habit of going back through your writing and checking that grammar. Number 8, throw more jabs. Now, this comes directly from Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. If you haven't read it, I definitely recommend that you read it. But essentially, the jabs are all about giving value, and the right hook is about the ask. And this point is all about throwing more jabs. It's all about giving more value, because when you think about it, your audience has a problem and they're out there looking for help. If you're able to focus on giving them help, if you're able to focus on how they're feeling, what they're going through, the challenges that they have, and just try to be there for them to help them along the way without throwing too many right hooks, then they're going to be far more open to the right hooks when they come. So this point is all about throwing more jabs. It's all about being as helpful as you can be, thinking about the challenges that they're going through and being there to help them. Number 9, don't be salesy. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, and some of you may agree with it, but I'm banking that 99% of you will agree with it. Nobody likes sales. We don't like sales. More specifically, we don't like being sold to. We don't like feeling that somebody has an agenda behind what they're actually saying to us. So really remove the sales speak from your copy. Try and pull that out. All of those superlatives, all of those, fandangle words that really make it seem like you've got this hidden agenda. Really pull all of that out, because look, your audience, just like you, just like me, just like everybody else, they don't like to feel like they're being sold to. So scan your copy, scan your messaging for a sense and a feeling that you're selling to your audience, and remove it where possible. And number 10, be as real as you can possibly be. Now, the word authenticity has definitely been a buzzword for many years now in branding, but really, if you strip away the fact that it is a buzzword, authenticity is just about being real. It's about being as real as you can possibly be, so that your audience feels that they can actually connect with you, that you're not trying to spin anything, you're not trying to sell them down the river, that you're being a straight shooter. And that's what we're really looking for as people. When we're talking to somebody, we don't want to feel like they're not being themselves. It's only when they are themselves that we can really feel connected to them. And a great way to do this is to let down your guard a little bit, show a little bit of vulnerability, and allow the audience to see inside the brand a little bit, and that the brand is not perfect. You are not perfect, and don't try and come across like you are perfect. So be as real as you can possibly be, and let your audience, let your customers see inside your brand a little bit. Now, although copywriting is less associated with brand building than, let's say, the logo, it's arguably the most influential tool that you have at your disposal as a brand builder. So whether you're going to get into copywriting for yourself and kind of take on the copywriting task, or you're going to hand that off to somebody else, it's really important that you have a solid relationship and a solid understanding of the importance of copywriting when it comes to building a brand and it comes to influencing the minds of your audience. So take these hacks into your copywriting. Make sure that copywriting is in your repertoire, and keep that sharp and solid so that you can influence the minds of your audience in the way that you want your brand to be seen. But I'd love to hand it back over to you. I'd love to hear your experience when it comes to copywriting. Is it something that you've taken on yourself without really having any kind of training? And is it something that you're really looking to develop now within your skill set as a brand building skill set? Or are you struggling with it? Is it something that really doesn't come natural to you, and you're really looking for ways that you can improve your copywriting without actually doing it yourself? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well. It'll let you know when I've got new videos coming out. If you want actionable brand strategy tips and techniques, head on over to BrandMasterAcademy.com and get yourself signed up for the list. It's free, and it keeps some exclusive content for that list as well, so get yourself involved. And there's plenty of downloads on there if you want to build brands from scratch as well. But as I said, I would love to hear from you about your challenges, about your experiences. I'll do my best to answer all of those. Until next time, brand like a master, and I'll see you in the next video.